Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about within the Smash the Number segment in the Voice of College Football Michigan edition. We are going to talk about the salary cap. Lots of numbers to dissect there. I have a point of view. I asked TJ to kind of join my Smash the Number show so that he can give a bit of a counter argument. We've got a little bit of a PowerPoint to kind of show. I'm going to show some of this. We'll have also a bit of kind of debate back and forth on this issue. I do want to call out one comment that came in from Moose, which is the world is 70% water and Will Johnson can cover the rest. Love that. And I hope we use it throughout the year. So that should be fun to see Will Johnson play. So I'm going to go ahead and present. TJ, you're going to stay. Right? Or are you going to?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Okay. All right. So
I'll pull up.
All right. So let's get to, give me a second here. I got to get into presentation mode. Sorry for the. All right. So, whoops. Hang on one second. Having a technical difficulty. Give me 1 second here. We'll get this. I'm going to stop sharing here. Give me 1 second. These are the issues with sharing PowerPoint. All right.
So essentially, for those who are unfamiliar with the recent settlement for the NCAA, we have a new salary cap being implemented. It's a $20 million salary cap. Schools will have up to their discretion on how they want to disperse it amongst the university, what programs they wanted to distribute it to. So the idea of today's show is how should Michigan distribute that $20 million and to what sports? You know, at what ratio, and what is the impact of this new salary cap for Michigan? Not only that, what does this mean for the current NIL collectives? So I'm going to give my take on it. Farris is going to, when he's ready, let me know, and we'll start the presentation so you can get his take on it. I have a feeling we're not going to agree in totality here, so it'll be an interesting perspective. Let me know when you're ready, Farris.
Yeah. So try it again. Sorry.
You're good, man.
Went into hidden pages from prior prior presentations, and it is presenting, but it is not. All right, we'll just go with this, but you'll see a little bit on the left here. So let's first hang on. All right.
What's the issue, man?
Yeah, I think I'll just try one more time. Hopefully this will work this time. Yeah, it's basically it doesn't allow me to do presentation mode. So we'll just go into it right now. So.
Do it how you showed me before the show. Just do the slides. Who cares if the slides are shown on the left?
Okay, cool. All right. Hopefully you can see that.
Yep.
All right. Here's my idea. All right. So now whether this is done via a mandate where it's $20 million that has to be split 50-50 men's and women's sports, and that's mandated, or whether it's actually Michigan's strategy to do so. What we're looking at is potentially $10 million for men, $10 million for women. And within the $10 million for men, this is a salary cap that's spanning all Michigan sports. $5 million would be given for football. $5 million would be given for other men's sports. And then there'll be $10 million that would be given for women's sports. Now, this sounds like, okay, let's think about revenue. Let's think about the importance of football. I'm sure many of you have questions about this. My point of view on this is that this would allow us to be leaders and best in many, many sports across the board. And don't forget that if we do this, it doesn't mean that the collectives have gone away. It does not mean that sponsorship in other forms has gone away. So let's look specifically for football. So if we took the $5 million for football, divided it by the number of roster players, 85 players, we are looking at a roster salary of $58,823 per player. That's just basically dividing up the money. Now, as I mentioned earlier, outside sponsorships can be separate from the university to help fund, just like we have today, right? Now, Michigan can also be very transparent with respect to the incoming revenue, and basically share that with the collective, with potential sponsors. And those sponsors can align the non-Michigan dollars, so the dollars that Michigan's not that's kind of giving up themselves, the ones that are coming from the outside. Well, those outside dollars, let's say I do want to help the athletic program, but I don't know how to do it. Well, we could say, hey, we're bringing in revenue in this much revenue, maybe it's a big number for football, this much revenue for basketball, this much revenue for hockey, this much revenue for women's basketball, etc. And then, those can be aligned separate from the University of Michigan. All right, now, so how would this work? So I think for other men's sports, so let's say $5 million goes to other men's sports, $5 million goes to football, $5 million for everything else. Well, you've got 18 roster spots for hockey, which is a positive revenue source. 15 for basketball. Subtract those out. Subtract out the 85, and you've got about 52 roster spots spread over 10 other sports. This is from the U of M website of all of the sports that they have on the men's side. Mm-hmm. So on average, it would be that same salary, $58,823. It would be spread across 10 other sports. And what we'd be looking at is 5.2 roster spots each that could be funded by the University of Michigan. So, do we decide that certain sports are more important than others and give more roster spots that are funded? Perhaps. Or we just split it up. So maybe 3 players could each make 20 grand instead of 1 player making close to 60 grand, right? So that's how that would work for other sports. Now, for women's sports, the formula would be changed a little bit because football does not exist on the women's side, and there are actually more sports on the women's side than the men. There are 170 roster spots spread over 14 other sports. On average, we're looking at 12 roster spots per team. Median salary would be the same, $58,823. I'm just going to give you a little example. I did a little bit of a deep dive into tennis. It is a sport that I follow. It's not followed by many people, let's say in Southeast Michigan, but worldwide, it is a very popular sport. If you look at the tour money for players that are ranked, let's say between 250 and 400 in the world, both on the men's and women's side, they do make 100 grand. They do make 150 grand perhaps, but they also have to pay their own expenses. And this, let's say on the tennis side, this could be, let's say Michigan and 10 other teams, 10 other universities decided they wanted to kind of build up a tennis infrastructure. There's already a tennis channel out there. There are already people who are watching the 250 to 400th ranked young players in tennis. Why not have them play for Michigan, make comparable money when you factor in expenses, maybe develop in a better way, just over 3 years, just over 2, 3, 4 years. And potentially you've got something that is actually could be a positive revenue source. So that, there may be an entrepreneur out there that says, let's get 10 universities to do this for tennis, and we're going to get Nike, or we're going to get, some tennis sponsors to fund this, and we're going to put it on the tennis channel, and actually could be a positive, right? So just kind of thinking there, right?
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go into TJ's idea now. So TJ's idea, this is his spreadsheet, same numbers. We're talking about $20 million. TJ, I think you're thinking is you could have a scale. Is it 10 million? Is it 12 million? I think you've settled on 12.5 million.
Right.
Give 12.5 million of that 20 million to football.
Right.
Give 3.5 million of that 20 million to basketball. And then for the non-revenue sports, you've got 4 million left over. So what does that mean? It means on average, I don't know if you want every football player, but on average, every football player get the same. But on average, we're talking about 147,000 for football. We're talking about 233,000 for basketball. And then if you're in a non-revenue sport beyond those two, maybe hockey is arguable. I'd say, TJ, maybe it's slightly positive. Maybe negative.
So hockey, from my understanding, breaks even.
Okay.
So, it's not in the red for the athletic department.
Okay. So then you've got the non-revenue sports. You've got 4 million left over. Each of those 800 athletes, I think, TJ, you did the research on this, and it looks like we have actually slightly more than 900 athletes at the University of Michigan. Each of the remaining 800 athletes gets 5,000. So two different ways of kind of looking at this. I'm going to stop sharing now, and we can have a little bit of discussion.
Okay.
Or maybe you could do that. Yeah. Good.
Yep, we're good.
Yeah. Sorry for the beginning there. I've got two screens, and neither of them are showing my PowerPoint. So it looks like we've already got a whole bunch of comments. But TJ, first, if you want to kind of give me your sort of counter argument in a little bit more detail.
Right. So my counter would be, so what we have is we have a Title IX situation that is in a gray area, because it's not, because the NCAA, of course, is going to leave it up to the universities to figure out how to handle Title IX. The concern is this leaves each university up to the potential lawsuit for a Title IX. It is already being said that the Title IX situation will be, what's what I'm looking for? Resolved in court. They already know that this is going to be a road it's going to have to go down. So, but my position is this, okay? This is a revenue sharing model. The majority of the money should go to revenue generating sports. That is football, that is basketball. I think the remaining non-revenue sports should get some money, which is why I gave them 4 million. And I'll be completely transparent. When I made that breakdown, I was even hesitant then, because I don't know, man. Because here's why. NIL collectives are still going to be available in this space. Those sports can still generate money off their name, image, and likeness. And they are not generating any revenue at all to the university. They are actually a loss. They are a negative. It's similar to what the NBA is doing to the WNBA, in the sense of you have a losing entity that is being propped up by a entity that is producing the actual profit. So, and I also think what we're going to see in other universities outside of Michigan, you're going to start seeing the cutting of sports. So this way there is more revenue to go to the main sports, which is football and basketball. And then lastly, I'll close here, and then I'll hear your response, Farris. I believe giving the football team an average salary of $147,000 a year, the basketball team an average salary of $233,000 a year, makes us competitive in the NIL market. Because what Michigan's going to do, and I've had this confirmed recently, Michigan is going to do a team-based salary. They are finally going to implement a team-based salary. Michigan has actually been, and we're going to talk about this on the Tuesday show, Michigan Wolverines Live at 8 p.m. on Tuesday with me, John Diadamo. We are going to discuss, or what I'm going to dive into deeper on the Tuesday show is Michigan has been preparing revenue sharing to come. This is why some of their NIL strategy has been a bit slow paced, because they were hoping for this type of resolution. So this way they can be in compliance, because they're obviously have been under a microscope. So this is kind of why they've taken such a tiptoe approach in the NIL landscape. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just stating what I've been told. So I think what we're going to see with Michigan is a team-based salary on top of NIL collectives like Champions Circle being able to offer extra compensation to selective players. And they are, and I have gotten this confirmed, and I know we're all going to be happy hearing this, going to offer financial incentive to high school recruits. We are finally going to be competitive in the high school recruiting landscape. Now, I don't know the figure. I don't know how much they're going to do. And we do not know. We are just speculating how much will be distributed to the football program. And that is what this show is actually about. What are your thoughts, Farris?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a couple things. First, I wanted to get your just a clarification on whether you think a long snapper should get 58,000, or does it vary?
Right.
Does the backup quarterback make the same as the quarterback? Does the et cetera? Go ahead.
So if we do the Harbaugh vision, which is what the initial team-based salary structure was envisioned a year ago with the Empower and the Hail Impact collective initiative, was to create a team-based salary where 1 through 100, including walk-ons, receive the same exact team-based salary. So this way, there is no discontent in the locker room, which personally I don't agree with that. But if it's the strategy they want to implement, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. But yeah, so the long snapper would make as much as the starting quarterback. But just so you know, this has not been confirmed, and this may not be the approach they take. I'm just saying this was the initial vision for the team-based salary under Jim Harbaugh. We do not know yet the structure for what they're going to do just yet.
Yeah. I think we're thinking in terms of what would we do if we were Ward Manuel, or maybe what would we do if we were Santa Ono with respect to this, right? So, okay. So what you said about the players going from starting quarterback all the way back to the backup long snapper, I would say, well, that should apply for all student athletes. Spread it out across all student athletes. Now, the reason why it's not a hard, well, first of all, let's look at the NFL versus this. The NFL, I believe it's well over 10 times this number, right? It's like 280 million or something like that. Their salary cap. So these numbers are just, it's a huge number, 20 million, but it's just pennies versus what you see in actual.
It's only 10% of Michigan's athletic revenue. It's only 10%. Other schools, it's far more. But for Michigan, it's 10%.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, so another little interesting point here. I just want to kind of bring up a couple other things. So Michigan is strong in football, obviously. Most years, they're strong in basketball. They're strong in hockey. You know, they're trying to win the Directors Cup and be strong in all sports. Other teams are strong in basketball, but not like, let's say, Connecticut, right? They're strong in basketball, but not football, or football, but not basketball. Will there be a scenario where teams that are going to specialize? They're basically going to specialize more. Will Duke say, you know what, forget about our football program. We're going to double down on basketball, for example?
I don't think you'll see. I mean, I do think you'll see teams like, for example, maybe a Vanderbilt baseball, which they're a powerhouse. You may see teams obviously put a larger allocation to a specific sport to try and maintain or become a power, because some schools know they're not going to be able to compete with the elite football programs. You know, like, you're not going to see Northwestern trying to compete with Michigan or an Alabama or Georgia, right? You're not going to see that. But you know, I do want to. I want to debate the point you made recently about, because the long snapper will make as much as a starting quarterback, why not pay every student athlete the same?
Okay, go ahead. Yep.
Because the other student athletes are not bringing the revenue to the school. If it was not for the football program or the basketball program to a lesser extent, there would be no revenue to be shared. Like why have equal pay to the other sports? Because their programs are already benefiting from the football program. Their program exists. Their scholarships exist because of the football program, because of the basketball program, right? I do not think we should have an equal payout to all 900 students. I just do not think that is for one, I don't think that's a competitive strategy. I think when you have schools like what's going to happen in SEC or whatever Ohio State's going to do, or potentially USC and Oregon, in your own footprint in the Big Ten, you are then going to lose the competitive recruiting edge. I mean, why would you come to Michigan and only make $50K when you can go to Ohio State and make $150K, or you can go to another school and make double the money, and not including NIL, mind you. And you better believe these other schools, even though they do say they're going to put some mechanisms to try and limit third-party incentive, financial inducement to come to a school. But the reality is, and I'm going to be very clear here, I have an extremely hard time believing they're going to be able to monitor that. And if they are going to monitor that, how will they enforce that?
Okay.
I do not have faith in the NCAA, man, to be able to do such a thing.
Okay, so here's what I say to that. So first of all, I don't think the backup long snapper is bringing in revenue to the University of Michigan. It's the star players, it's the brand. Yes, they are playing football technically, but
they're an employee. But they're an employee of the entity that is making the most revenue to the school or to the athletic department. So they are part of the whole. They are one part of the whole. Now, that backup long snapper, he has a practice squad position. He has a role on the team. He helps in practice. Practice players matter, right? Like, why should a long snapper on the Michigan football team, a backup long snapper, not be entitled to more money when his organization he's a part of is generating more money?
Yeah, fair point.
Like Farris, you work in corporate, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if your company is generating 10, 15, 20 times more revenue, don't you think the lowest rung employee should make more money than an organization that's in the negative?
Yeah. So here's my counterpoint to that. So in that organization, let's say in the automotive industry, right? Okay. So the internal combustion engine trucks, they make tons of money. The electric vehicles, they lose money. But does that mean somebody who is in the electric vehicle team should have less of a salary or no salary? Because this company is thinking about the future, let's say, or thinking about the next 50 years, whatever. Right?
Is girls field hockey the future?
That's a really interesting point. So here's something I'm going to tell you right now. So I am efforting, I think that's the correct word, and on podcast here, to get a women's field hockey alum on our show. Mm-hmm. She owns a local business at a growing local business in Ann Arbor, right next to U of M. Stay tuned because I think it's going to happen. TJ, I'll talk with you offline. Okay. She is also a big booster. She went to Silicon Valley. She made a fortune. She actually came back to Ann Arbor, and she has created a business that's right next to U of M. She's doing things with athletes. She is, I think, what you term a booster, quote unquote. It'll be interesting to get her opinion on this because
absolutely.
Yeah. So every now and then it may be that somebody who's an athlete in another sport ends up becoming very successful and then ends up returning, tenfold whatever it costs to, put them through school, so to speak. So anyway, just it was interesting that you mentioned specifically field hockey. Now, separate from that, though, what I'll say is it really going to make a difference to a 5-star or upper 4-star recruit that they're getting $60,000 versus $150 from Michigan, when they're probably going to get another $500K, million, 2 million, some number multiple fold bigger than that from either a collective or directly through a sponsorship.
But is it guaranteed money? So this is the problem Michigan's facing. They're not guaranteeing salaries where other universities are. So we're in a gap of competitive NIL because we are not guaranteeing sums of money. We are telling players you have to earn it through not only sponsorship, but play on the field, which we don't disagree. You should be I don't disagree that players should be compensated for their production on the field, but there also is a competitive balance that you need with high level elite talent coming into your program who have not proven themselves yet on the field, and to have a competitive strategy through NIL, you have to guarantee money. Injuries happen. You're one injury away from missing a season. You're one injury away from a career ender. Some kids have family situations where the money would be extremely beneficial. Like, you have to have a competitive, guaranteed NIL plan to be more competitive in the recruiting. We have 5 commitments, man, and it's June. Now, I like our commits that we have. I like the 5 we have, but I follow recruiting pretty closely, and I'm gonna let you know there is one kid right now who's close to committing, and the rest are distant gaps. And it doesn't mean they won't be Michigan Wolverines at some point, but it does mean we're not on the verge of a commitment. Like, obviously, official visits will change that. Those are very important, and we will probably get a flurry of commitments in June. But as it stands, unlike other programs, because of our NIL strategy, we're not on the verge of any commitment right now, except for possibly one. That's the issue we're facing, and we just won a national title, Farris.
Yeah, yeah.
We put 13 kids in the NFL. We're doing everything except a competitive NIL strategy. That's the problem.
Okay, so first of all, this is not going to kick in until 2025. So we're looking at another,
which is the current recruiting
14,
class.
15 months from now, right? That this would
but that's the current. So the current recruiting class right now is the 25 class.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
and they are. And just so you know, for clarity, they are going to discuss this with the current kids, which is why I'm interested to see the uptake. I'm interested to see the response, because now that this has been green lighted, let's see how commitments come now.
All right. So how soon do you think this is going to end up happening in terms of, here's our strategy, here's how much money is going to go to football players versus other sports? You think that's going to take a year, or do you think that'll get announced relatively soon? Like
Michigan's plan of attack?
Yeah.
They're going to wait until the deadline, dude. Why would they rush it? Like, why, Michigan, like they're going to check every stone, and I would not. The only thing I think might be, I don't know. I actually think they're going to take their time. I mean, there's no rush for them to come to a decision. I mean, plus it's not even truly finalized yet. It still has to be, the judge still has to approve it, which they think it will. The NCAA settlement, that is.
Yeah.
So that until that's even like, but what I do know is they are still going to have I don't want to say loose because that's not the proper word. They're still going to have framework conversations with recruits to let them know the type of compensation they can expect if they come to Michigan.
Okay, so how do you do a frame? How do you not over?
So I'll give you an exact example. So they will talk to a high school recruit, and they'll say, this is the amount of money you will make through a team-based salary. And then through our NIL collectives, X, Y, and Z will be negotiated with you as a prospect. So not only are they going to get a team-based salary, depending on the caliber of player, the collective will then negotiate additional benefits for the player. Okay. So
okay. I think we're aligned then, because
that'll be player to player basis, by the way. That's every player is not going to get the additional bonuses, right?
So I think we're aligned, because whether, under my plan, it's $60,000. Under your plan, it's $150,000. But either way, let's say it's the same across the board.
I
Yeah,
think it
there's
needs
a
to be
little
six
bit to make
figures.
up there. Go ahead.
It has to be six figures to be competitive, man, in my opinion. But go on, Ferris, not to cut you off.
Okay. So whatever that threshold is. So yeah. So my number is lower than yours, but it is kind of the same number, perhaps spread across the board. Then the money that's not coming from U of M, that's coming from other sources, for the top recruits is going to be the majority of the money. Would you agree with that? Either way,
Well, I'm sorry. Say that last part again. What's going to be the majority of the money?
the money that's coming outside of from outside of U of M, the money that they're going to get is even if it's 150, they're going to be making more than 300, right?
Not
for
every
top
player.
4 stars and 5 stars.
Maybe I'd say it's dependent. Well, here's the thing too. So this is extremely interesting, right? So now donors can donate to the school and get a tax write-off for the NIL to pay players. So that's new. That was not legal. They did the 501(c)(3) thing, but then that was ruled.
Let me get clarification, because you said NIL. Do you mean for the 20 million, or you mean beyond the 20 million?
For the revenue sharing. For the revenue sharing. So Michigan can still take donations to the athletic department, which then gets grouped into total revenue. So that money can then be used. $20 million cap, though. Let's stress that there's still a cap. So only 20 million can be used no matter where that money comes from, right? Whether it's from TV deals, donors, merchandise, tickets, whatever. But now donors can then donate to the school, to the athletic department, and get a tax write-off legally. No IRS issues like there was with the 501(c)(3)s, the collectives that were being propped up, and like Clemson was using with doing it through a church, which is insane. But anyways, yeah. So, that's where we are right now. So that's huge. That's freaking huge. Now, what does that mean for the collectives? What does that mean for Champions Circle? I don't
let me pause you for 1 second. So I don't totally understand everything then. So let's say one donor wanted to give the full 20 million.
Right.
They can write it off. The second donor
doesn't
get write off, or what?
No. How does any donation? No, any donation to the school is a tax write-off. Now, wherever the donor wants to put that money, there's going to be donors. There are going to be. I can guarantee this. I already know this because this is a thing. I've had this confirmed to me. Donors are far more comfortable donating if they know they're going to get a tax write-off. Plus, at the University of Michigan, but I have not had this confirmed yet. You get donor points for donations. So I don't know if that's going to also, I don't know if the donor points, and with those donor points, you can use it's like a rewards program for donor for really rich people. It's a rewards program. Okay. Essentially, I haven't gotten confirmation if those rewards points are going to transition for actual donations that are going to be put towards the revenue sharing donations. I haven't gotten that confirmed, but what I have gotten confirmed is that donors who donate to the athletic department, which will be grouped into total revenue, will get tax write-offs. And there are donors who are hesitant to donate because they were not getting tax write-offs. And also the concern of a year prior, the concern of like an IRS situation, and kind of what the Texas collectives were going through, as well as Tennessee's. So it's very interesting. This is a very fluid landscape right now. Things are very fluid at the moment, but there is a lot of interesting variables at play right now. But we have a super chat, Farris. I think we should hit on it. So
yeah,
Nick
sure.
says, what if the regions still refuse to pay players? I have an answer to that. What do you say first, Farris?
I mean, I don't think that can happen at this point, right? I mean, it would.
Correct.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it would be
legally. It is officially legal by the NCAA. They have no choice. Revenue sharing is not a choice. Up to 20 million. So every school in the Power Five, which is, Farris, me and you should probably have a conversation off air, but like, what does this mean for Group of Five, right? Obviously, Group of Five is now going to be non-competitive in this landscape, which they already were. But the fact that they don't get any revenue sharing allowances is an interesting twist. But every group of 5 school will then be able to, they don't have to do the full 20 million. They could do 10, they could do 5, they could do 15. It's up to the school's discretion on how much of the $20 million revenue that they want to share. So Michigan will do 20 million. I'm very positive on that. Also, this revenue sharing will be adjusted every 3 years and will grow as revenue grows. And I don't know how I don't know if it's going to be by school basis or if it's going to be NCAA as a whole. I don't have that confirmed yet.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Big Ten, correct me if I'm wrong, there's so much money coming into the Northwestern and Minnesota just from TV money that they should have no problem paying the 20 million. That's Minnesota and kind of the second tier or third tier Big Ten schools.
Yeah.
So Michigan is absolutely going to spend every penny of that 20 million.
Absolutely. And I also want to give a shout out to Nick. Really appreciate your super chat, man. Anyone going forward, anyone who throws super chats, we really appreciate you supporting the program. And you will always get priority for anyone who is able to give us a super chat. But yeah, I mean, I agree, Farris. I mean, I think we're in a very interesting landscape. I mean, the next steps for me personally is identifying, hearing some news on what recruits, if anything leaks, and usually something will leak, what recruits are negotiating what in terms of revenue sharing pay, and then what level of recruit we start landing, or what does this do for our recruiting? Because I'm going to tell you this right now, we should see a change in the current commitment pace we're on right now. And then what is the allocation of revenue sharing to the various sports? Because that is the question. And how much does Michigan concern itself with the Title IX thing? Because to be honest, Farris, it's extremely possible, and I've read this in articles too, that Title IX may not be as impactful as some think it might be, because Title IX and Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, has said this: compensation is not an umbrella for Title IX. Title IX is strictly the equality of opportunity for sport, not the equality of and the equality of opportunity for pay, but not the equality of outcome for pay. Okay, it's the equality of opportunity, not outcome. Okay, that is what Title IX falls under. So, very interesting to see where this evolves.
Yeah. So my comment on that is that we are not looking at a purely capitalistic system.
Of course.
Most likely the government's going to be involved. Most likely academically oriented people at universities are going to be involved. And it's in my opinion, it's very hard to know how Title IX is going to factor into this. It may be some schools do it, some schools don't. Or it may be a mandate if you want to do something, if you want to play in a certain way, that money needs to be split. We don't know yet.
Well, the NCAA is not enforcing that, though. This is the thing. The NCAA is not telling any schools what to do with Title IX. This will be resolved in courts, and there will be a lawsuit somewhere, and some school's going to be the front of it. Okay, I don't know what school it's going to be, though, but it'll probably be an SEC school because they're ballsy enough to challenge everybody. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. So I had two other things on my list.
Let's go.
The first is healthcare benefits as an employee, all that kind of stuff. I believe players will have to we'll probably have to have a tax consultant to try to figure out their taxes as well. Right. So all of those are likely coming. Maybe as part of the healthcare, there is some level of insurance that is a higher level of insurance if a player gets injured playing football, and that player is going to end up being a pro, or is projected to be a pro.
Yeah. So I would say you will not see the healthcare and the insurance aspect of this until there is a players union, until there is a CBA. Those are steps that will be taken when this gets further, and you'll probably see that in the next 2 years. Okay, that's going to be the next evolution, as well as an increased revenue share. We brought up the NFL earlier. The NFL has a near 50-50 split right now. So they're saying that right now college is a 20% split, but it's not. For a school like Michigan, it's actually only an 8% split. So we'll see how they decide to, and like you were talking about earlier, is like, this is basically, it's not a true capitalistic structure. Well, neither is the NFL, because even the NFL is capped. Right.
Yep.
They just allow free market to determine the salary cap, or not salary cap, but how much a player earns or their contract is worth.
Yeah. Yes, I do believe there'll be lawsuits. That makes a lot of sense from that would challenge Title IX. We'll see what happens with respect to that. I saw a comment about a college football draft. I definitely have an opinion about that. TJ, do you?
Yeah, I don't like it personally. I don't think. Why would you do a draft? One, how to do a draft with, let's just stick to the Power Five, like 60 or so teams, bro. Like, then why would a school like Michigan or Georgia or an Alabama participate in such a structure? That is when you break off into a super league. That will never, one, it will never happen. I think we all know that. Two, this isn't about fairness of play or parity in the sport, because it's not. Like, college football has never been about the parity of sport. The elite premier programs are always going to be the elite premier programs, unless you have an Oregon situation. You have a donor like Phil Knight who decides, you know what, I want to make my school an elite premier program, and now you have an Oregon.
Yeah. The reason why I don't think a college football draft would work is, what if I want to study mechanical engineering and you don't have that program? What if I want to be a vet, and study to be a animal doctor,
Right.
whatever,
Great point.
Michigan doesn't have a program like that. And the vast majority of,
right.
Of these athletes end up doing something else, right? After they become, right. So it's not purely for the sport. Go ahead.
Yeah. Plus, a lot of kids want to stay close to home, man. This isn't, this isn't the NBA or the NFL where you don't have a choice. Like, a lot of these kids want to be close to home. They want to be by their family, or, as you said, they want to go into a specific study that not every school offers. Right. And not only that's, not all business schools are created equal. You know what I mean? So some schools are better than others, and that does have a factor for some kids.
Yeah. And for those who say, no, these players, they're just all about football. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Actually, the backup long snapper might be in the, in your engineering class or in your business class or whatever. A lot of these kids do end up taking harder degrees than you would expect. Not the majority, but a lot of them, right? So, right. All right. So my final thing, unless you had anything else, my final thing was is this $20 million per year salary cap a net positive or negative for Michigan? Because if you look at it from, Michigan is supposed to be one of the haves. So you would think, well, if there's a cap and it's not a purely capitalistic society or capitalistic system, then Michigan should be able to break through that 20 and make it 40, 50, whatever they want. But on the other hand, maybe they aren't spending like SEC or Ohio State, and having them capped might be a good thing. What's your thought on that as to whether this is a net positive or negative for Michigan with that 20 million?
So the correct answer, but not the fun answer, and I'll give the fun answer after the correct answer. The correct answer is it is too soon to know, because we do not know Michigan's approach. But the fun answer is, and the answer that I think, I'll say this, the position I'm leaning towards, I do think this is a positive for Michigan, because this gives Michigan the green light. And as brought up by one of our commenters, the regents, the okay to now feel, and this is a word discussed, and I know this for a fact, amongst the regents, morally, it is now they can feel morally good that they could pay these players, because prior to this being greenlighted, they did not feel morally good, which was a big hurdle for some of these regions who were not ready to evolve with the current landscape of college football. So the
that's
fact that
crazy.
now it's
That's crazy
nuts,
because I think both myself and you would think it's actually morally
wrong,
right, to not pay that, right? So yeah,
dude. When I found out about that, I was like, this is how you know there's a severe issue at Michigan, an archaic approach, a philosophy that's not evolved. If those are the words being used for paying players, I mean, it is what it is. But now it's green lighted, so that's good. So they can feel morally good that they can now pay these players. And what's beautiful is, especially with the Tennessee settlement, not only can you pay players a revenue share, the collectives can also negotiate in good faith. You do not have to be under a microscope. And well, although there are going to be mechanisms in place where they're going to try and limit financial inducement, but I know people in that circle who feel that is not even, as it stands, it's not even feasible. So, yeah, I mean, yes, I do think I lean towards this is good for Michigan, but it is too soon to truly know. Farris, what is your take on that?
Yeah. So first of all, I think the net for Michigan is a positive because our sort of our persona, the way that we behave is we don't go for the skies. We are not the New York Yankees. We stay within quote unquote budget or whatever. We are more conservative. So if the playing field's level at $20 million, we'll get up to that $20 million. Some schools won't hit the $20 million. They should. I think the Northwesterns of the world should, because they're making 80 million plus from TV money. But some other schools may not. Michigan will. They'll hit that cap. And OSU and SEC teams will be forced to hit that cap as well. What Michigan should do is arguable that they should be spending more money than that, but that's not actually how they behave. So based on that, I would say the 20 million is a positive thing.
I would too. All right, let's get to AJ Ransom super chat here. He goes, will there be a correlation between team recruiting ranking and salary cap? So it's a very interesting question. The thing is, though, and this is again where we need to know what schools, and by the way, this will all be public. These are public universities. Now, I wonder if a Northwestern has to disclose this. That'll be because they're a private university, for those who are not aware. But all the public universities, which is majority of all of them, have to disclose how much they're paying these kids and what their salary, how much they're willing to give in terms of the revenue share, whether it's 10, 15, 25, whatever. So we will be able to see, AJ, over time, a correlation between how much per player is getting, like maybe, and I have another point that I'll touch on this after this point. How much per player they're getting, or how much total amount of money is being allocated to the football team. And then my last point to that is, it is up to the school's discretion if they want to give each player the same amount. That is not something they have to do. Every kid does not need to make 150K. They may very well do a variable approach where you have the starting quarterback making 300K and Farris, your long snapper, is only making 15K. Some schools may take that approach. I do not think Michigan will. I believe extremely confidently a team-based salary will occur, and I do think it'll be a flat rate. But just so you know, that's not confirmed. It's not confirmed. I just think that's the approach they're going to take from what I know. But we'll see. What's your take, Farris, for to AJ's question?
Yeah. Actually, well, I mean, this is sort of like what happens in Major League Baseball. So how much do the Dodgers pay, because they have the highest salary, I believe, per win? How much does Tampa Bay pay per win? And but either way, it's just kind of an efficiency metric. I don't think. I mean, if there's a salary cap, that salary cap should be kind of across the league, across a tier of team. I don't know exactly how to. Maybe it's a group of 5 or 4 or whatever we are. Or Power 5, 4, whatever we are. Maybe it needs to be that way. I think that's how it is now, right? It's that it's only that upper tier that would get that 20 million. Is that true?
Correct. It's only the Power Five. They're including the
Yeah.
2 schools in the Pac-12, but all schools are not equal, which is why they're doing it like this. Obviously, a Michigan could do more, but a Washington State could not. Washington State's athletic department's actually in financial trouble, as well as Arizona's. Arizona's athletic department is in like a damn, they're like negative millions of dollars, and so is Washington State. So this is why they did it like this, to try and create some semblance of balance. This will evolve too. Like, please understand, this is in its initial phase, and the revenue will go up. And I still don't think this eliminates a super league at some point, because some schools are going to be like, this is like, what are we doing here? But Moose, let's give a shout out to Moose. He blessed us with a $5 super sticker. We appreciate you, Moose. You are an extremely loyal fan. I was actually talking to, because Moose was messaging me on Twitter, and I was with some people, and they go, who's messaging you? And I was like, probably one of the most diehard fans I know. I was like, this dude literally injects this into his veins, bro. So shout out to Moose. We appreciate you, man.
When TJ and Moose talk recruiting, that is must see YouTube. You've got to see that. When that happens, just listen to them. They've got all kinds of tidbits.
Yeah, hopefully he calls in next Thursday again. But next time, instead of giving me 20 names, we're gonna go like one at a time, because he threw a lot at me, and I was like, all right, I'm trying to give you what you want here, but you're giving me so much. But yeah, no, Moose is the man. We appreciate you, dude.
All right. Well, I thought this was going to be like a half-hour thing. We went 50 minutes. Sorry about the technical issues at the beginning. I will fix that in the future. Sharing PowerPoint is less than optimal on this platform. But I'll get better at it. Sorry about that. Learned a lot in this session. I really appreciate all of the feedback. We did this on short notice. It was sort of a pseudo, it wasn't an emergency podcast, but it was, I was going to produce something, but I figured it'd be more fun if we did it as a broadcast. And I think, at least from my perspective, this was awesome. So really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Farris. All right. So I'm TJ Ronan. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm on X, talking football, talking recruiting. If I ever have any recruiting nuggets, I do drop them, especially if it's in between the gaps of the shows. We have the Tuesday night Michigan Wolverines live show. It's at 8 p.m. That's me and John Diadamo. Whatever the current topics are, we're discussing them. We're breaking them down. It's a great show. And then on Thursday night, we have the Michigan Wolverines call-in show live. It'll be our 3rd episode. I'm going to have Mac from the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. They also do a little content on the show for us. I want to bring them in, get the community a little more comfortable with them, and talk all that. And then we're going to have content throughout the week, sprinkled through it. And if you guys can please like, subscribe, and help grow the channel. Last I checked, Farris, we were 29 subscribers away from 7,000. And at 7,000 subscribers, we have an announcement. But I'm going to wait before we say what that announcement is.
We are so close to 7,000. And I can't wait to hear what this announcement is. Please just get a friend to subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Family, friend, whoever. but please do that. We're just trying to get to 7,000. We are growing faster than the Ohio State channel. Ohio State had a lead on us. They started before we did, but we are growing faster than them. It'll be a great day when we pass them. So that's what I'm looking forward to sometime soon.
Yeah, and shout out to Mark. Thank you for watching the show, man. We appreciate you. And Farris, I was looking at the channels, right? There are 2 channels above us, Miami and Ohio State. And we're going for the top spot. I'm telling you that right now. We're coming for that top spot. Let's do it.
But if you're an Ohio State fan, you can still subscribe.
Absolutely. All right, Farris. I guess that calls it for today, huh?
Yes. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of you on short notice in our pseudo emergency podcast here to talk about the $20 million.
Absolutely. All right. Until next time, see everybody Tuesday. Have a good day and go blue.